Hey Shannon, alright, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at where you were, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, another important day with relationships and feelings, and we'll get the death and the lesson learned over here, and we'll get hints of time throughout. Alright? Okay, so all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through here and your current life, and I'll try to help however I can, okay? So just keep in mind there's a couple of ways to make connections. So direct connections and opposite connections. So direct connections would be if whatever comes through here, you can directly relate with. The opposite kind of connection would be whatever comes through here, it's the opposite. So for example, I like to give the example of if you die in a past life from smoking, a lot of people come back and they just cannot stand being around smokers or smoking or anything like that. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for. So, all right, let's begin. So what do I want to say about this right away? What I feel like is coming through as far as the aspect goes is, and it's going to clear up as we move along, but what I can tell you is, it feels like we're looking at a masculine feminine or a male who is, I want to say, I guess, a male who is more in tune with the feminine energy, but not like in looks or anything, but just like in the energy of it. So it'll probably clear up as we move along. Where we're going, so this is the Europe card, okay? Now, the Europe card obviously encompasses a lot of places. However, this feels like we're looking at a place as it is a hub, and it's known for, well, maybe many things, but it's known for something. Kind of like, it's kind of like the feel like when a city gets to, you know, host the Olympics there. It's like, okay, well now, during that time, that city is known as, you know, the city where the Olympics are going to be, like, you know what I mean? They're known for something. So this feels distinctly like a large, I'm just being like very heavily drawn to, for some reason, France or Spain, I should say. So France and or Spain, and so it's almost like a feeling of going back and forth for specific reasons. Like you have property so I feel like you spend most of the time for work in one place, and then the other place is like leisure, but still something that needs to be kept up. That's interesting. Okay, so it's like leisure, but it's like leisure that makes money. So it's like, and there's like it's like gambling, but it's different. It's like, it's almost like I want to say if they had a casino type of feel in one place, and let's say you own the casino, you wouldn't live there or do your work there. You own it, so people are managing it for you, so you would go to visit it to kind of just keep track of things, like weekends or something like that. But there's a main hub where you work too. Okay, so as I'm talking, it feels like this is turning into a male. So, okay, so just the fact that we're looking at a male aspect, whenever it's like, you know, obviously you've been all kinds of genders and stuff like that, but like, that would just indicate that you might have more masculine traits or be in tune with your masculine energy in this lifetime, which, you know, technically kind of means like how people take that is more forward or outgoing or opinionated, or a strength or an inner strength, or a get tasks done, which, I mean, obviously women know how to do this too, feminine energy, but you know, just what people consider more masculine energy. It could be also like if you were a tomboy growing up, or if you still are a tomboy, just you would know if being in tune with your masculine energy has been a theme in your life. And so a lot of times we see this when it's an opposite gender and we're being made aware of the other gender in another life. It could also very much mean a balancing of the masculine and feminine, which is really nice. Okay. So a message coming through with that, for example, oh, by the way, you have to resonate with everything I say. So if you don't resonate with it, just tuck it in the back of your mind for another time, because a lot of these things come up weeks, months, a year later kind of thing. So just whatever resonates with you, that's what you take. And you might want to get a notepad and pen or something, take notes while we're doing this for the things you do resonate with. All right. So a message coming through with that, with the the masculine energy would be not to shy away from it and to use it to your advantage, because this person here, there's something very on top of everything that this aspect was, like a multitasker, and it wasn't hard. So it's someone who could just juggle a ton of thoughts in his head and tasks, like a to-do list essentially. So if you're a list maker, or at least in your mentality, if you are very good at multitasking, making lists in your head of what you need to get done and kind of checking it off in there, or maybe you really like to make lists, but this guy was just on top of shit. He was on top of everything. So he can get stuff done. People, and it's not the kind of thing where people placed responsibility on him. It's where he took responsibility on because he can see how it was beneficial and useful to him, especially knowing that he was good at juggling it, so he used it to his advantage. So this is coming to your attention. Usually when it comes from past life, when things come to your awareness, it's for your advantage. It's your benefit. Once you learn about energy in a past life that you hold, it's in your spirit, so you can tap into that. So whenever it's like, if you're feeling overwhelmed, we'll say, or just thoughts run amok, just all you have to do is tap in, basically with the intention, with the intention or thought, kind of like tap in, click in, connect to this energy, and you can utilize it in your own mind. You might notice, or in your own life right now, you would notice, let's say you did tap in, you're like, okay, I'm overwhelmed, I need to like organize my headspace, and you like just took a moment, you breathed, and you connected with this life, understanding that you're connecting with this energy that was able to juggle like kind of flawlessly, then you might find very quickly how your mind will organize itself as it connects. It's very interesting. But you might be someone who already has that, so you might not even worry about getting overwhelmed, because you might be someone that just handles it so well. You might be someone's very responsible, very not routine, but knows how to maintain a routine and keep a routine, and maybe even organize routines for other people, because it feels like this aspect basically was an employer, like not just for his life. It's not like so it feels like this guy lived somewhere where there had to be a lot of stuff done to the place, because it feels like a big house and hosting a lot of get-togethers or whatever it might be, because of whoever he was in society, because I feel like he was connected on a business level at least. He would have a lot of people do things for him, tasks for him, so he was also very good at organizing and dictating to other people, not in a bad way dictating, but just like organizing the daily routine of a lot of people, let's say people who work for him kind of deal. So there might be that in your life where you find that you're very good at being the task driver, but also like the task hander outer, for lack of better words, I don't know what it's called, the organizer. So that's what's coming through is this very like organized in the mind kind of guy, and loving it, and kind of just like hands like elbows deep in life, not taking time to observe too much. Like he observes everything, but not taking time to breathe. Observe for no reason but to just see the reality he has created, his lifestyle. He doesn't step back and just breathe and appreciate it. At least it's showing like not enough, like definitely not enough. Like but it's not bad, it's not good. It's more like he's elbows deep in life, so he's living it. He's present and he's living it. But it's those moments like if anything, this guy needs to learn, like, I think you can tell by how fast I'm talking. Like, I do talk fast in a lot of readings, but this is indicating just how his life was. It was just like nonstop, blah, 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 like that kind of thing. So this guy, it feels like didn't just stop and breathe and like kind of smell the roses kind of thing. So that would be, if you resonate with that, it would be a message for you that you need to, if you're that organizer person, routine person, whatever, you need to then pencil in time for you to just like take a mug of coffee and go to the edge of town where there might be a nice view and just sit there and breathe by yourself, or like, you know what I mean? Or if you live somewhere, like just go where you won't be disturbed and just like take it in and breathe. And just like in that moment, what's coming through is like this idea of a meditation where you sit there, you have your coffee, whatever you're doing, you're breathing, and you just recognize how every decision and choice you've made in your life led you up to that moment. And if you just take a few moments to kind of think of that, I'm not saying dwell in the past, I'm just saying like think of how an entire lifetime you've lived has led up to that moment, and just breathed with it and just like sat there in appreciation or gratitude or whatever, I think this will be very beneficial to you on an emotional level, on a finding answers to maybe some questions you might have level. You'll get more answers in that moment, and you'll also feel more aligned and more like you're not, like things are not passing you by. Like if you do this, it'll help you keep track of time, I guess, in a weird way. Like how you might say, people might say, oh my God, it's been 2 years already. Oh my God, it's been 10 years already. I mean, we've been here 10 years. It feels like we just moved in. Like that kind of thing. Those are like very precious moments. And it's like you can have as many of those precious moments. You can do that daily. And just think if you had that beautiful, like refreshing, like, wow, you know, it's another day. Like that kind of thing. I feel like that's going to be very helpful for whatever peace of mind you may be searching for, if that makes sense. So keep that in mind. And so another connection you could be making would be if you've ever been drawn to Paris. I'm going to say, did I say France? France and Spain? Yeah. I want to say Paris. Paris. It feels like we're going into the city, like Paris. And then when we go to Spain, it's country. It's the Spanish countryside, which is funny because usually when I think of countryside, I think of French countryside, but this is very much Paris, like city, like work. If you've ever been drawn to Paris, if you've ever been drawn to Spain, and or the Spanish countrysides, which if you haven't and you're not familiar with, I would definitely go say Google it and look at photos and sit with it and see if you feel comfortable with the photos or familiar or triggered emotionally in some way. Not bad triggered, but you know, like moved when you see photos of the countryside. And if not, that's fine. It's just another way photos are so helpful for that. So just something you might want to consider. And it feels like the more it doesn't, so when you go to the countryside, it doesn't feel like a casino. It just feels like there's something on the land that is lucrative, but also, so it's like, okay, so it's like almost like stables. Oh, okay. So it's like horse racing. So it's like horse racing. Okay, so it's kind of like casino. Maybe it was like the casino of the times, because this doesn't feel modern. This feels, I'm trying to see if there's, I don't know what modern means anymore, but this feels like basically if there were automobiles, it would be the very beginning of automobiles where only like the very rich started to buy the automobiles. The very wealthy people had the automobiles. And so it's just showing me like this, and it's like even like your fashion here was like very fine fashion. So this is a very, yeah, so, okay, so we're, okay, sorry, let's keep going with this, connections we could be making could be, okay, so there's a gambling aspect. If you've ever been intrigued with gambling, or if you are a risk taker and you find it usually turns out pretty well, you might have a very good ability, gift, or instinct for when to gamble, when to take a risk. It doesn't have to be gambling with money. It could be, but like just, you know, taking a risk in life. Like, let's start a business. Let's try, you know, I have this really great hobby. Let's see if we can turn it into anything. Let's take our savings and put it in here and really just work hard and we can do this, that kind of thing. So we're looking at that as a possibility. And if not, that's fine, because the opposite connection would be if you are someone that just abhors gambling, does just, no, it's terrible. That would be the opposite connection. But the direct one would be if you are a risk taker or you know when to take the risks, and you're willing. So we have that, and then the stable, the horse race. Okay, so connection to horses. So if you are ever pulled to horses, you like horse. I mean, I don't know, a lot. Like I guess I've met a couple people that don't really like horses, but most people do. So I know it's kind of general. But if you, I mean, this would be a connection to the animal. I feel like it's more than just racing for him, even though he loves the monetary aspect and the societal aspect, like the socializing of it. So that also could be a connection if you're a social person. If you like gatherings of people. If you like hosting gatherings of people, opposite would be if you just are very, if you're an introvert and you're just, no, I don't want to be social because you're so social here. But it also feels like getting to the countryside, it wasn't just always about the race. Like, it was about seeing the horses, and it was about being in the countryside. And then not just that, but like the connection of seeing the animal in the countryside. It's like, because so rarely seen in Paris, like things in their natural habitat. So there's something about seeing the things in the animals in their natural habitat that is very alluring to this person. And it's also the idea that he's so controlling over everything that the horse racing and the horses is something he can't control. You can train a horse, but you can't control, like he it's like he appreciates the wild spirit of the horse, even though it could be taught, to race and stuff like that. He enjoyed the idea of having to win the trust over, like to get the respect of the beast, if that makes sense. Like there was something about that was very keen to his liking about that. Like the reason, I feel like it's something about like childhood, seeing something almost like it stems from his childhood. It feels like this aspect, like maybe he spent the countryside with his grandfather. Maybe this might be his grandfather's like property, like in the family kind of thing, where the grandfather might have passed it on to his father or him or something like that, even though it feels like his parents, or at least the father figure, it feels like somebody is out of the picture, possibly from passing. So we are looking at a potential abandonment issue, or sometimes we see like a soul incarnate into the next life and take on the same kind of dynamic so that they can react differently to the family dynamic. So in this life, if you lost a father young, then in your current life now, if you came into a family where you lost a parent young, which I guess, it's like always too young to lose a parent, but like if that's the case, you might not know how you might have reacted in another life, but your soul does. So it'd be here to react differently to the loss of a parent. Like if here you became cold and distant, put a wall up and didn't trust anyone and didn't fall in love, in your current life, you might have come back to, if you lose someone or you understand loss at a young age, to instead take the wall down, open to love, understand how love is so important, and find a partner, and like the opposite of that kind of thing, which is what it feels like is something about him closing down in this life. And also I feel like that's the reason why he was able to have such a lucrative like career and social life, because he didn't have any strings attached, and he was like sure not to become attached to especially women, but also even keeping friends at a distance. So it feels like that reaction to a early death almost kind of thing put him into that way, so that in your current life would be that you would be someone that your soul would strive to embrace versus this to repel. Does that make sense? So just something to sit with. Again, you have to resonate with these things. All right, so then we have that connection to the horses, connection to even the countryside. This could also explain if you're someone that you love urban cityscapes, but you also love country, nature. Also, this would indicate someone who like has to get out to nature, has to be around nature, because it feels like on the weekends he got away no matter what, and it was as much for himself as to maintain like the horses and property. Potentially even his mother lived there or something like that, but he allowed her to stay on the property because it was technically under his name, and I want to say she's the only person he's really generous to, but only because she's family, and she was a survivor of the father's death as well. So he kind of sees her as like, I don't know, it's very, this aspect has a wall up with his emotional block, this aspect. So again, you might come back in this life where maybe you had an emotional block and you learned to like, okay, I need to take the wall down if I really want to be happy. I actually have to make friends and trust people, that kind of thing. Or it can explain actually in your current life if you find that if you feel like you do have a wall up, or there is a block somewhere, or you do have trust issues, or you do have issues attaching to people, letting people in. This could indicate you being a very independent person. So just things like that to consider, and where it might come from if that's the case. So, okay, a lot from that card. So here we have what you did with the majority of your time, which I mean, I've been describing it, but so this is the provider card, and also sometimes the hunter card, hunt, provide. In this case, it feels very much like we're looking at well, it's interesting. It is a provider. It does feel like the money takes care of all of his provisions, all of his property, his lifestyle, all of that. Now the hunter, though, it's funny, at first I was like, oh, it's not hunter, but you know what, actually there's something about this personality of this that indicates a hunter's like instincts, like there's something kind of wolfy about him. Like again, it comes down to that risk taking, where it's like he knows when to like charge in and take that risk. And also there's something very charismatic about him that knows how to handle different personalities very well. So there's something like kind of camouflagey about that, which it's not bad. I mean, it could be shady, you can say that, but not here. It's just more about business and like knowing how to play the game. Knowing how to play the game, yeah. So it's really interesting. So keep that in mind. We're going to keep going, but there is something about knowing how to play the game that I do want to make a comment about, which is in your life, how it might connect in your life, knowing how to play the game. If this is connecting with you in any way, it could be that you might have found, just based on certain things you had gone through in your youth, that you have learned to be strategic when it comes to dealing with other people in the sense of being manipulative, but not even maliciously, just out of survival. Like knowing how to sense when people need something, not like, oh, can I get you a napkin, but like need something emotionally from you, or need a certain response or reaction in order to get the response or reaction that you might want ultimately. And again, it does not feel malicious. It just feels like smart and strategic, like just playing the game, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. So, all right, so again, you have to resonate. If not, tuck in the back of your mind for another time. We're going to go to the first important day. First day here. This is the birth card. So the birth card can indicate like the birth of like a kid, or a birth of something else, a birth of an idea, a birth of a, whatever. The relationship here, though, is a child card, so we're probably going to the child. This is neutral. I'm just going to see what comes through. The feeling is neutral, and that is exactly what is happening because he got someone pregnant, not married, not in love. It was social, honestly, it feels like he won a horse race, and he partied afterwards, and he got someone pregnant. It feels like a socialite. It feels like someone who is as ungrounded as he is, we can say. Not ungrounded, but this guy, there's something about him, again, with the wall up. He found a mate here who has a wall up, but it's more like, it's really interesting because I said wolf here, and it feels like there's something wolfy about her because it's almost like she realizes she's got him. She has you, this aspect of you. Like, okay, hey, I'm pregnant with your kid, so time to take care of me, Like she does, she takes full advantage, but it's not the kind of thing where it's like you can't hate her or hate on her because you put yourself, or this guy, he put himself in this situation. So it's about taking responsibility and realizing that actions have consequences, and no amount of money can discharge that consequence like this. You know what I mean? Like, so it's almost like he's realizing he has to do fast, like a, how do I put this? Like there has to be a transformation within him in order to cope with the changes that are about to occur. And these were unforeseen circumstances, and these changes, there's no going back. And it's like, he knows that, like he knows he messed up, and he understands it's his responsibility. And so, I mean, I want to say that she has him marry her. They get married. Yeah, this is a full-on, so it's a union. So he brings her into the family, and it is tense, and it is polite. And it is in all ways a marriage due to the circumstances. And so in your current life, I would say, honestly, based on this, that it would, based on this, I would say that you are someone who comes together with a partner very intentionally, possibly very slowly, and needing the love and the respect and the two-sidedness of, like, it takes two to tango. So if you're in a relationship, it would be going good if that person takes responsibility, is self-aware, emotionally intelligent, and kind of knows how to keep up their side of the work of the relationship, if that makes sense. So if you're unhappy, this would be someone who would blame, who would never take responsibility, that kind of thing. If you're not in a relationship, then who you be good with would be someone who does know those things, and it would have to be a love match, not circumstantial. It would have to be in this life, because this was a hard lesson, and you learned it, and it's like it's like you learned it. You're done. Like you're done like being in a relationship without love, or being in a relationship out of circumstance and that out of your choice. Like it's almost like you choose. You're not even looking to be chosen. You get to choose. Like that kind of thing. That's what this would indicate. So, also, and of course you have to resonate if you don't, tuck in the back of your mind, but another connection you might make has to do with the child itself, with the children, or having children. If you are someone that's like, I don't want kids in this life, that would be an opposite connection, and that, if that's the case by any chance, don't ever feel guilty about that at all, please, because it would come from this life, where you were forced to have children and you weren't even considering it. I feel like in this life, if this didn't happen, you would not have you have been a bachelor forever. But on the other hand, you could have come back into this life and you're like, I want a family and I want kids, and, like very intentionally wanting to create a child intentionally because this was created unintentionally. Does that make sense? This would also indicate, and if you have any fertility issues, by the way, if you've ever had any, or if you, whatever, that, if you did, it could very well come from this, where on a soul level, you're like so against kids that you like kind of made a vow, like never again, like that kind of thing. And there's power in that, and we see that a lot. So people take like vows of no children, or no this or no that, or like, and it follows through. So that kind of thing, which, once you know about it from another life, you can move through it and work through it a lot of times and get rid of that like kind of stagnant or limiting or restrictive energy through meditation, hypnosis kind of thing. Just good to know about. All right. I think that's all the connections from that day, but keep making connections where you can. And because the neutral card would indicate like how he feels about all this is like, like that kind of thing. So if, again, like, and you might have tons of kids and that's awesome, but if you don't have kids and you think of kids and it kind of makes you go, like that, like then that's what this feels like. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, connect however you can. And we're going to go to the next important day. And so this is the so long farewell until we meet again card. And that usually indicates somebody's leaving, someone's moving on. And the card here is spouse. Sorry, the light. There we go. The spouse card, and then held back. Okay, so what this feels like is due to your marriage, it feels like someone or a very, hold on. It's like a situation that is very close to your heart. It's like an opportunity has passed you by. Okay, so what's going on here? Okay, hold on. I feel like it has to do with the horses. And that you couldn't, okay, so like let's say it's almost, Sorry, 1 second. It's just like coming in little spurts. Okay, so basically piecing it together, it feels like, let's say you own like, you own 2 horses, but everyone keeps their horses for the races where you are, because it feels like the racing track is like out on the outskirts of this, in the Spanish country, whatever this might be. It feels like you also own the track, right? But really, you only own 1 or 2, I want to say there's 2 horses that you own and you love, and these are your horses. One, I feel like, is a pet, or the mother of the horse that is the racer. Like, you have a racing horse, and then you have another horse, and it's I want to say that horse is like the mother, and I feel like the mother horse is dying from something, and she has to be sent away to see if she can be helped. Like, I want to say, like, she has to be like taken to a place where there's like expert horse vets, or whatever they call it, equestrian medical people. And there's something about it where your spouse, something about the situation you're in where you can't go with, and or the horse has to be put down. So it's almost like I want to say, the horse is going to be put down, and you want it to be done in the best way possible. So you have to send her somewhere where you know it's going to be done compassionately without pain, kind of thing, like whatever it might be, but you can't go with because of the circumstances in which your wife has placed you, where she's basically like, if you leave, I'm gonna blah 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 blah. So you feel held back in that regard. And this horse, I feel like there's something about the horse that is the last remaining thing that reminds you of, like, we'll say your dad who passed, or the grandfather, something connected here. And it's almost like the last line, it's like a horse's lineage, and she's the last one of the lineage, and you can't even really say goodbye to her in her last moment. All this emotion's coming through my heart center right now, and it's really incredible, and it's like so overwhelming, because this aspect never allowed emotions to affect him like this, and the wife doesn't even see it, or maybe he has an outburst but doesn't see the sadness or the pain. And it feels like he is feeling like all the pain that he didn't allow himself to feel with the father's death and putting the walls up, and now the horse has to go. So this is like incredible emotion coming through, and it's like, so it could be very well that you make sure that you do not put yourself in situations with people where people hold you back, or where you feel like the people, like, it's, if you are someone who is very selective about the people you allow around you, there's that. But then there's also, if somebody you know and maybe like, or maybe even trust it to a certain extent, if they show you any kind of form of wanting to hold you back or wanting to keep you small, that might be the biggest red flag that you feel when it comes to disengaging with certain people. You know, some people, it's other things. It's like, you know, everyone has things that annoy them when it comes to people's personalities. Like that one thing, and it feels like if there was one thing, it would be if you felt like one of your friends or someone you knew or someone that you were becoming friends with, if they were trying to hold you back or keep you small or make you feel like you couldn't do something, that would be it. That would be that red flag that you're like, this is not a good person to have with me. This is not an encouraging person. This is not a helpful person. And it's like being encouraging and helpful. On the other hand, it might be where you select your friends or people who are near you or allow in because they are encouraging and helpful. Like, you might find those to be the best qualities in a friendship, kind of thing. So feeling the held back, these held back feelings by others also would indicate that if in your current life, if you're someone that, it's like, I don't know, is either one, you could have repeated that with someone who taught you in this life not to ever be with someone who will hold you back or hold you down. If you're single, it's because, like, you're like, no one's going to keep me small. No one's going to hold me back. If you're with someone, it's going to be someone who raises you up, who encourages you, who makes you feel like you can do anything, and who helps you move towards your dreams. That would be the ultimate person for you. And maybe you have that person. I don't know, but that would be the traits to look for according to what I'm feeling from here. And so this can also indicate if you have issues letting go of people, or if you have issues like, I don't know, like, it's, I mean, this was such a bond with an animal. This is the kind of bond I feel like would cross over. So if you have bonds with animals where you feel like the animals are family, and almost like something about letting them go. Like if you have who doesn't have a hard time if their animal is ready to be put down? So that's a silly thing to say. So I'm not going to say it. But yeah, it's just, this was like overwhelming. Like this might, like, you might be the person that if you watch a movie and someone dies or a child dies in the movie, you're like, oh, that's sad. But then if a dog dies, you just bawl and bawl and bawl, you know, or any animal. You might be an animal, more like an animal person, like animals are people versus like, well, kids are, okay. Like this feels like this horse was like, I don't know. That's like, ugh. That's a heart wrencher. So, okay. Anyway, keep making connections where you can with that. Oh, and then we're going to go to the death card. Okay, so the death card here is the natural death. This is a natural death. So I'm seeing him just much older. he threw himself into his work. It feels like the child was pretty emotionally neglected from the dad. And yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of excuses. His dad died, and this and that, but it's still like it was neglect. So you might find in your current life, if you suffered any neglect in your life by someone close to you when you were growing up, it could be likely that you were looking at a karmic thing playing out. So if your dad was neglectful, or it could be a brother, it could be someone you love, where you wanted or you felt like you needed, or you wanted their emotional connection, or whatever it might be, and they didn't give that to you, or they couldn't, that could be the same soul coming in for the karma of it. And that would be done by now, though. Or at least you can let it go. Sorry, very glary card. Okay, so, and one more thing about this is, with the natural death, so, while it is passing in your sleep too, just do keep in mind that if you have any, like, issues with death, so to speak, like, how am I going to die, or, you wonder about it, or you're scared of it, or whatever, a lot of times we get, which is not a problem, of course, if you're human, we get this light, like this death, like the natural death, to kind of show you, like, nothing to be afraid of. It's natural. Death is part of life, like that kind of thing. This can also come up in that you might be someone who is embracing of death in the way of, especially having, like, lost your father in this life, and then anything that might be connected with that in your current life, as far as losing someone, is having already gone through and seen death, maybe multiple times. You never know. Like, seeing that, it does something to you where when you see a death occur, it does affect you in such a way that it gives you, like, a readying. Like, there's something readying. I mean, yeah, for a lot of people, it does instill fear in them, but more often than not, it gives them I don't know why the word readying keeps coming up. So, a lot of times too, I don't often talk about that when it comes to this card. So I feel like that's coming through specifically for a reason, especially when I keep wanting to say readying. And if for some reason, if the case is because you might be aware that someone is ready to transition, it might be someone really old or someone really sick or whatever, the kind of thing where everyone knows, it can be any day, month, or within a year, whatever, that kind of thing, because that happens a lot. Like, that's, a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but again, death is part of life, but this might be coming up if that's the case for you, and you do happen to know a soul that's kind of on the brink, or, kind of hovering there, to kind of give you the peace of mind to know, or just like a reminder, because you already know, but like a reminder of, hey, it's just how it is. It's the natural way of things. And also a reminder that we're looking, literally this card right now, we're looking at the death of another aspect of your own soul, like a past life. So it's also reminding you, like, hey, look, you're looking at your death right now from another life, and you're back, and you're living, and there's things that are happening and going on, you're living another life, and it's never going to stop. Like, you're always going to have life in the form of consciousness in some way or another. So it's like that kind of thing. So it is sad when someone we love passes, like horribly sad. Yes, and grieving and all that stuff. But also just remember that it is a cycle, and you will see them again, and you've probably seen them before, and this life is just another life where you're seeing them again. And like this horse too, I do want to, they're pulling in the horse because our creature companions come back to us. Like, they follow through too, just like any other soul that's like karmically tied to you. Not karmically, but like also like a soul family. You think like animal souls aren't part of our soul family? Like, they're just as much as any human. So again, like anything happening in that respect in your life, just a reminder that it's not the last time you're going to see him, and it's certainly not the first. There's that. So I hope that's helpful in some way. And last thing I want to mention is the time card. I know we mentioned the time, that it was not modern times, and it felt like the start of the car thing. So, I think that is like the very like cusp of the 20th century kind of thing. So if you've ever been pulled to that time period, in any way as far as like the technology of the time, the fashion of the time, the culture, the like that kind of thing. And this would be European, like Western European kind of stuff. Whether it was in school when you were learning about it, or if you just happened to like that kind of stuff, that would just be another connection. So there's that. The lesson here, this is the self-love card. So the self-love card comes in because here's the funny part. This guy, this aspect here, it sounds like a really selfish life, right? Overall, even though, he took on the wife and the kid kind of thing, it's a pretty selfish life. But what that's telling you actually, why I'm mentioning that and why it's important, is because you should be prioritizing yourself. This guy should have been prioritizing himself. What he could have done was opened up his heart a bit, maybe like been more loving towards friends or more interested in feeling his emotions and how people affected him and whatnot. But what this guy did have was prioritization, and that is self-love, even though it looks selfish. Now the thing is in your current life, you have to realize that you're not coming off as some like selfish, prick. It's more like you need to make sure you still are prioritizing yourself. That's really important, because if you're not prioritizing yourself and you're not like filling up your love bucket, if you're not filling your own love bucket up, then to spill onto your friends, so to speak, and your loved ones, then you're just running on fumes. So you do need to make sure you have self-care, self-love, that you are prioritizing yourself, because this is your life. And it doesn't mean you can't love other people even equally. You know what I mean? It's just this guy, this aspect, didn't love other people. He only loved himself in that way. And this horse, and there's something about the mother, But even the horse, I feel like he saw the horse as an extension of himself. So it was still like loving himself through the horse, if that makes sense. But in your current life, see, you can show this much. You can show this much self-love to yourself and be that selfish. But you can also embrace other people and love other people, where this guy really didn't. Does that make sense? So just like redefine selfish, because selfish is not a negative thing. Not always, a lot of times it's not. But yeah, just make sure you are catering to yourself enough, so that the people you do take care of, we can say, or the friends you love or whatever, that they don't get a resentful, exhausted version of you from giving. And if you give to yourself enough first, then they're going to get a full and happy you, and then more love after that, you know what I mean? So it's just a better way to approach things. But, whatever you resonate with, of course, and keep making connections where you can with that self-love card. Anyway, so there is your past life. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're able to make some connections, and thanks for letting me read you.